Alright people, in this video I'm going to show you how to measure up for your windows and your doors. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a professional fenestration surveyor. I don't have a trade, I just have a go. But today I'm going to show you how to measure up for your doors and windows as if you're going to fit them yourself and order them yourself. First of all, you want to get your measuring tape and drop kick it. You don't want one of them, you want one of these bad boys. This is a laser measurer. This particular one is DW033. So from DeWalt, it's good up to 30 meters, plus or minus 3 mil over 10 meters. That's good enough for this job. These are only like 40, 50 quid. Of course, you can use your tape measure, but you might need two people depending on how big your windows or doors are. The windows and the door measurements and the way you measure them, it's the same principle for each. So I'm just going to show you on this window here. First things first, you do definitely want to do though, make sure you put your cavity closers in first before you measure up. With a laser measurer or your measuring tape, you're going to take 3 measurements horizontal. One about here, one in the middle, and then one at the top. You take them measurements, write them all down. From there, you're going to take 3 other measurements, one on the side, one in the center, and one on the edge. You write down them 3 measurements as well. Now pay attention, because this is where it gets difficult. You're going to have to do some maths. So you take the smallest measurement on any plane. So this one, this one, this one, the smallest out of them measurements. And then for aluminium windows, for this size at least, you're going to take away 10 millimeters from that measurement. That is going to give you a gap of 5 mil each side, basically. A little bit more, where obviously it's a little bit bigger. So in this example, my smallest width is 1103. So I'm going to take 10 mil from that. So that means 1093. That's going to be the width of my window that I'm going to get. And then the same for the verticals, 10 mil smaller. And then that's the size window that you're going to order. But you need to make sure that that includes the sill height as well, because you want to put sills on this. A few things you need to think about: your actual window positioning. Now this is a cavity wall, so it's got roughly 100 mil cavity inside. This bit here, that's the brick. So you take your measuring tape. Where's my measuring tape? Okay, so 100 mil wide. So my cavity starts there, back 100 mil. So my cavity is between there and there. Now for thermal bridging purposes, basically what you're supposed to do, and damp, is you're supposed to set your window, the back of it, about 30 mil in, like that. You see how that's like just 30 mil, and like I know these things off the top of my head now. Right, so there's my window, it's going to sit there. That's the back of the window. So you need to make sure obviously your sill is going to come out and extend beyond the brickwork. Your projection off of the front of the facework, you really want about 40 mil minimum. That would be ideal. Remember, if you haven't render or anything like that, you need to make sure that you're going to bump it out further. And whilst I'm here, that's where I'll take the measurement from. Exactly where the back of the window is going to sit. And that's why you put your cavity closers on first, because that squeezes it in a little bit more. Get yourself a proper sketchbook, make sure that everything's in its place. You don't want to lose scraps of paper. There's my windows, I've got more windows there. There's my doors, and I've also got a gable. Bit more complicated, but I'll show you that right at the end. In terms of the gap that you need to leave around the outside, here's a handy chart. It should be helpful for you. Pause it if you want to have a look. I'm going to deduct 10 mil from everything apart from my gable end, because that's over 3 meters, and I'll show you about that later. There is something else you need to consider. It's whether your window is square, because that will throw your measurements off. Let's show you an example to the extreme. If you was to say your window ended up being this shape, if you took your measurements, you would have that one all the way across, that one all the way across, that one all the way across. You could only ever fit a window in looks like that. So you're massively missing off this bit and that bit. That is extreme. Now you could deal with that by checking the diagonals, but that's really difficult to do by yourself. You can't really see what you're doing. I don't think it's particularly helpful. At the end of the day, these are man-made openings. Nothing's going to be bang on anyway. But I use a level. And what you want to do, check all sides, make sure it's pretty much there. You want to go vertical and plumb, and then as long as your side is no more than 5mm off plumb or level, you're pretty much going to be all right. Now, if they are massively off level and plumb, especially over a long distance, then you might have to deduct a little bit more than the 5 or 10mm. I'll show you on this window what I've done. So just to double check, I put this one there, and then that one is off by 2mm. So I put that packer there, and then the other side, that one is off by 3mm. So there's that packer there, and I measured between that one and that one to make sure that my window was actually going to fit in, and the same up and down. So out of them 3 measurements that I've done, smallest one, deduct the 10mm, it still fitted in within that gap, even if I bumped it off to make it absolutely bang on level and plumb. So now let's talk about my gable end. These are going to be bifolds, and from here all the way to here is roughly about 3.6 meters. So because that's over 3 meters, I'm going to drop 15mm off of my measurement, smallest measurement between here and here, and then I'll definitely be able to fit them in. And from here up to here, you probably want to do the same, but you need to consider things very carefully, because even though this still should be straight, it's not. So it goes straight, 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 and then right here it dips down. Now what do they call it? Is that hot rolled still? It didn't roll very straight, did it? I didn't catch this until after I'd done my second survey, if you like. Just before I ordered my windows, I measured everything again. I took like a good couple of hours just to make sure, and then I spotted this one. So I had to drop that measurement a little bit more just to make sure it's going to definitely go in. This bit, this funny shaped one up here, I'll show you how to do that as well. Principle of this, I've got 2 upstands either side. So I want to measure 1 across here, 1 across here. I'm going to take that smallest measurement and deduct 15mm again. Then what we're going to do is we're going to measure here. So just remember that these measurements at the very end, they're going to be slightly different if you drop them in. So be careful on what you're measuring. You're going to have to drop them in slightly, and then you want to basically make sure your apex is right in the center, so you can measure between that point and this point, get the middle point, and then you can measure that measurement all the way up to your apex. So you will have this measurement here, you know this measurement here, you know that measurement there, and then you need to measure this angle here, this angle here, and this angle here. Now these can be offset, but if you want to do it equal like I've done, you need to make sure that you're doing it very carefully. I use this for my angles. This is Bosch, one of the basic ones. I think it's pretty much close enough. I trust it enough with this, and you can basically go at that, you can push the button, it will tell you exactly what the angle is. See? Now check whether this is level, of course, sorry, whether it's plumb, and then you can do your angle. You might use a couple of packers there or something, and then that there is whatever this number comes up, 108. It says 0.5, but I've already worked out it's 108.3. So do your apex as well and the other side. Now, if you're not that good at maths, you don't have to use trigonometry per se, like work it out in your head or anything, or even write it down. There's calculators on the internet for that kind of stuff, which is what I had done. And you want to take your measurements and make sure that it all works and it's all going to fit into that hole that you've got there. So you basically want to have a play about with your figures, because this is what you're going to use. So you've got that angle, you want to divide that in two, and then you've got this value, and then you've got that angle there. You want to take 90 degrees off, and then you've got this value here for this angle. You know this distance between here and here. You know this distance between here and here. You know these angles, and you just need to work out and put them in. So if you put in, say, this one, and this one, it will solve this angle. So everything needs to be matching up. You need to get it as close as you possibly can. If you've got, say, this value and this value and that value, you'll be able to work out this value as well. So the distance between here. I appreciate that's probably hard to follow, but that's what you do basically. If you've got that full length at the top, then you can get back up there and you can measure between them 2 points and see if it's the same. Even though you've not measured that when you got up there, you've worked it out on the computer or in your head or just doing calculations. That's how you do it, and then eventually you'll end up with something like this. So this is my actual opening. So you know I said the steel dips down. So between here and here, that measurement was actually bigger than that side. But I've went off of this side because it was smallest, okay? And then, so I've worked out all the angles. This works exactly, okay? So that's the opening size. Now, to do the actual window size, it needs to be smaller than that. So you notice here, that's 912, and I've dropped that to 900. So I've taken 12 mil off because it's a relatively small distance. Here, I've taken 15 mil off. Because I got really paranoid, I actually drew both of them up on some like 2D CAD software and made sure that they fitted within each other. Now, depending on the capabilities of your window supplier software, they might be able to just work that out themselves. If you go onto Origin, if you get a partner account with Origin, you can put in an opening size, and then you can say that it's the opening size, and then you can put in the value for what the tolerance is. I assume most window companies out there would do that as well, but I just worked it out myself, and I'm pretty confident it's right. Something you should consider, because the window company might not. I'm having bifolds here, so I would have a 4-leaf system. One door opens there, and then 3 fold that way. Now the floating mullion on this door is quite thick. That naturally means that it throws off these other mullions. The center one isn't bang on center for this. So if you imagine, I'm going to have mullions up top as well. That one right at the apex is not going to line up with this one in the center. For me, that works out, it's going to be 20 mil offset. These ones here, if I just left it, then it would be, I think it's 60 mil off center for that side, and it's less for over there. So you can get them to line up the mullions exactly, but what you need to consider, I've got this big steel here. So between that, the gable window and the bifolds, plus the insulation, you're going to have a minimum of 150 mil between the two. Now, yes, you could line them up exactly. You would have to eye it straight on to actually notice it. But if you was to line it up exactly, the visible glazing between these ones would all be different. So more than likely their technical department could sort it out for you, but do you trust them to do the right thing? I wouldn't want these lined up exactly, because that would throw the top off. So what I have ended up doing, I've found a happy medium between the two. Now, each of my panes of glass, between that one, and that one, they're no more than 10 mil difference between each other. The center mullion effectively is 20 mil off. That one is going to be 5 mil off, and then that one is going to be about 15 mil off. I'm going with a company called FrameX, and they phoned me up the other day just to double check because I had some weird measurements for my mullions and the positions. And they was like, are you sure you want to do that? And then I explained it to him and he was like, okay, it sounds like you've considered it. He must have thought I was like Rain Man or something. I know it's a little bit confusing, it might go off your head, but you need to think about these things visually. Is it going to look balanced? And bearing in mind the gap between the two, what's more important basically. So that's it, that's how you do it. I've spent 19 grand now and hopefully they're all going to fit. I'm pretty sure they will. Anyway, thanks for watching, I'll see you later.